new technologies excite me, and if you're not jumping on the bag, it's like the guys back in the day who were working on tape, didn't want to go to the computer, and then they didn't have a job 10 years later. You know what I mean? It's like, hello, you gotta kind of
you gotta keep
jump
up.
in.
You gotta keep up.
It is what it is. Even if you don't like it, people are using it. It's happening. We got to be on board. You know, then that's the way I've always looked at it.
This is the Behind the Sound podcast, where we talk to producers, engineers, artists, and other creatives alike. Hosted by Sean Gray and Manik.
These headphones?
Yeah.
The best recording headphones ever. I got them at audio school. I got a pair of these too.
I hate them, but
for recording, I like him.
Yeah.
I don't like him for mixing though.
No,
like
no,
for recording,
hell no.
I like him like.
Hell no.
Phase One Studios, like the original Phase One Studios. This is what they have, and I love them. They're awesome.
Yeah. So, welcome to the podcast. Yep. I'm Gravy Mixes, Sean Gray,
Manik, and then introduce yourself.
Jay Dufour in the house, man. It's nice to be here with you guys.
Nice.
You know, we talked a bunch over the phone. It's nice to chop it up with you in person, live, man.
Yeah, man.
It's been like literally. I just saw my manager for the first time in 3 years. First time in 3 years today.
Yeah, because of COVID.
Yeah, well,
nice.
Yeah, because he lives in New York. So
right.
the last time I saw him was March 2019.
Okay.
And then, you know, we only see each other a couple times a year, but because of COVID, that all stopped. So I haven't seen him in like almost 3 years, I guess.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's good though. That's good that you actually started getting to connect with, people again, especially your team.
It felt nice today, just doing that panel over there, and it was short and sweet, and the questions were good questions, and the audience members asked the right questions, and it went well, and just nice. We were just driving around today. We went out to see a couple studios that my friends got, and a couple people having a session, seeing people I haven't saw in a couple of years. It felt nice. I feel like we're finally getting back to some kind of normal, even though stuff isn't fully normal, but what are you gonna do,
Yeah. So what was this conference that you were at?
Canadian Music Week.
Okay, nice.
So for the people that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so I am a mixing engineer. I've been doing it professionally I've been in the music industry since 2006. Been off on my own since 2013. That's when I made the jump to go freelance. So between 2006 and 2013, I was working at a lot of studios around town in Toronto, working my way up from intern to getting people lunch, being a runner, and then being an assistant engineer, and working my way up to engineer, and then freelancing, and along the way just putting in a lot of work and saying yes to everything, and a lot of late nights, and kind of if you were to pick up a recording magazine and look at an article of how to become an engineer, you would look at my life, even though it's changed since then, and an engineer or producer can do it any which way, but if the textbook theory, that's the way
the traditional way. Yeah.
And
a lot of engineers that came up to like the Mannies, the Jason Joshua's, that's how they came up.
Exactly.
Very similar to you.
Same way.
Yeah. So why don't you give us a little bit of rundown on your credits and stuff? Because I know that you're an engineer with Protest the Hero. You've worked with Saya. You've worked with some other big names.
Oh man, you know what? It's funny. I'm just getting my website redone, so I'll just pull up this list. And I looked at this list, and I almost shit myself. I was like, really? I worked with all these people.
Your credit list is.
Well, I haven't done
it's admirable, bro.
My website's from 2013, bro. So I haven't really. There's a couple updates that I've done along the way, but I haven't really updated my website in that long. So I got somebody doing a new website for me, and in turn they're updating the credits and how should we display who you worked with, and we're all figuring this out. So I got this list down, so I can kind of just rifle through a little bit of it if I can. If there's dead space, you can just cut it out on here, I'm sure. But
and you also won. You just won 2 Junos. Yeah,
2 more Junos. One for Charmaine Rap Single of the Year, and one for Breakthrough Group of the Year, Mono Whales.
Nice. So how did that make you feel?
It's cool. It's awesome. I think specifically the Charmaine one, just being a part of somebody's career from the beginning and see them grow as an artist and see other people fuck with them and them get better too. When I first started working with Charmaine, it was in 2017, 2018. Somebody at the label signed her who I was doing a lot of work with, and he's like, hey, got this thing, why don't you work on it? And it was her, and it was that music never came out. I worked on a few songs back then, and it never came out, and I kind of didn't hear about it for a few years, and all of a sudden in the COVID, He's like, Jay, you remember the Charmaine artist you were working with a couple years ago? He's like, yeah. He's like, are you interested in working on some more? I'm like, yeah. So he sent me that Bold song to mix, and I heard it. I was like, whoa. And it's just awesome to see artists get better and, climb.
That whole progression.
And win and stuff like that. And so that's the very first song I mixed, and then everybody was just freaking out about it. And then I just mixed everything since. And then when that song came out, I remember that Ron LaPata at the label Signer, he called me. He's like, bro, everybody's freaking out about this Bold song. Got this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, all right, awesome. Like, regardless of like, it's interesting in today's climate. How do you judge winning? It's so weird, or like, how do you even use that term, winning in music? What does it mean? I mean, it can mean something different to you, something different to you, and
super subjective.
It's like, how do you determine success?
And it's
right?
weird. So with going back to the award thing, it's awesome. Like, getting awards for this kind of thing, but like I do feel like the awards in music it feels, even though it's like awesome to be involved in these projects, it just feels a little weird.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what am I winning?
Yeah, and it's awesome, and it shows that people are listening to the music and thinking that this is literally was the best music to come out of Canada for that particular lane that you're in. But it's I have like. I guess it's just me maturing over the years, and when I was younger, it was all about I was so fascinated with the Grammys and the Junos, like, oh wow, like, and then you get into music and you realize it's those things are nice, and they definitely help your career if you're a technical person, producer, engineer, songwriter. If you got those kind of credentials, it helps your career because it shows people, oh wow, they won with that person, maybe they'll win with my artist, and it definitely helps you climb, and it definitely helped me climb. But I do, it's. I don't strive to only get I never sit down at a mix and be like, oh, I hope this is a Juno mix.
Never think about it
it's
like
just
that.
random. It's just little things that come along the way. And again, it's like a lot of us who work on music as producers and engineers, unless you're really, really involved in a project like you are with the Portion stuff or whatever, it's if you're just kind of like I'm working on my own a lot of times, and I am lucky when I get these projects like Charmaine, or there's another artist I work with, Lolo, who's doing really well, and I've been a part of her climb too. And
we heard about Lolo.
Yeah,
someone mentioned Lolo.
Yeah,
recently.
And it's just it's awesome to be involved with artists like that from like day one and like watch them win. It's like cool. I had a part of doing that. And hey, people listen to this. I had a part in helping shape that sound. You know what I mean? And but it's. The award thing, it's not that I stopped paying attention to it. It's just like I let my mind, what I'm focused on, I'm trying to just like do the best job I can for that moment in time, and just like whatever that means. And if something comes of it, great. But I'm not thinking like, ooh, I want this to be a Grammy mix, or ooh, da, da, da. It's like I want to sit down and like literally I'm going to put my time and effort into this and do the best that I can, and whatever that means for that certain point in time, that's what I'll do, and it will change. If I sat there and worked on this song this week or next week, it'd probably sound a little bit different. Or whatever,
exactly.
But that's, I think it is, going back to the awards thing, it is awesome. I think it's great, like seeing a lot of females win awards too, where it's just like, where it was very like male dominated before, even like the Engineer of the Year this year.
Was it female?
Hilka Kurtis,
nice.
who my manager also manages, awesome seeing a woman win that award. I think what it will do, I think what happens is like a very male-dominated thing, producing engineering. But if a few women start getting wins, maybe it will.
It's more inviting for other females to come in.
Exactly. I'm not saying we need women just for the sake of having women. I think it's just like, when you have a couple women that win, it shows to other younger women, hey, this is not only for guys. That's amazing. And what that's going to do, it might even be a time where it's 50-50%.
Yeah.
You're in a room, half of them are girls, half of them are guys, and that's great. And
I think that's like a whole nother conversation in itself. Like, I mean, we can get into that, but like women like aren't very like respected, just because it is very male dominant. Like a woman in the studio, it's like one guy and like five dudes in there. Like, bro, I'd be uncomfortable if I was a girl. You know? So like,
and you know what? I think it's the same thing where you look at like mechanics or other lines of work where it's like male dominated. Like younger girls probably don't even get into it because they look at that like, I can't do that. Inside their head, they're saying that, and because that's all they see, males in the shop. But
there wasn't the example to set for
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's a positive thing, and I think and especially in the R&B and the rap. Awards, sections at the Junos Award, there were a lot of females, and Rap Single of the Year and Rap Album of the Year both are females.
Yeah,
that's
which
awesome.
is that's fire. Yeah,
it's great. And
so I see that you work on all kinds of different genres of music, and like how did this come about? Like what?
Yeah, like take it back to like
Yeah,
when you
so-
were super
So
young.
you're like Protest the Hero. You work on like country records. You work on heavy metal records. You know, like yeah. Give us a little bit of background on the way how all this came about.
Yeah,
Why?
so-
How do you work on so many different genres of music? I have a follow up question too. With that is, do you think it's important to like niche down into one genre, or to be more versed like you and work on multiple genres?
Here, like they asked this question at this panel I was just on, and I think it's a great question. And so I'll touch on it in a couple different ways. But so the way I came up is just, going back to when I was a kid, even I played music in high school. I did the high school band, the trumpet, the trombone, the sax. I got it. Was never really any good at it, and then I got into hip hop and making beats, and I was rapping back in the day like every other kid, and having fun with it. So that's how I got into music. And then along the way, growing up, like I grew up in Windsor, which is right beside Detroit. So all I heard was American radio. I didn't really hear any Canadian radio, and
It's a lot of Eminem.
well, that and like Motown music. My parents were huge Motown fans. They loved Joe Cocker. They loved Neil Diamond. They loved like all this classic, really great James Taylor. Maybe some Mariah Carey in there. Like just some really great, powerful artists and great songs. So I was exposed to that. My dad has, I think this thing was like called Columbia House back in the day, where it's like you pay for a subscription, kind of like what streaming subscriptions are nowadays, but you would get a certain amount of CDs. So you look in a book, you just pick CDs out. And so he would just have this crazy, and I would just lay down and just listen, bro. Like, and I remember specifically, like, I would love listening to Mariah Carey records because just the airiness of her voice and hitting those high notes and the verbs. Like, I'm not sure who the engineers were working. Maybe like Mick, forget the guy's name, Mick Gazowski or something like that. But these really great engineers from back in the day, and this is like a 9-year-old kid, bro. I had no idea what an engineer is, but I remember putting the headphones on, just laying back on the carpet listening, and so it's just that, you know what I mean? I think it all started with that, and then I got really super into music as a kid, not playing, but just into it, listening into it. My parents kind of like shit. My mom didn't like me listen to like, hardcore rap or like, hardcore rocks. I would sneak, like I would get like, the NWA tape or the Marilyn Manson tape, whatever. And I had to be sneaking in my bed, like at night, listening to this stuff and just being blown away. Like, what am I specifically with the NWA stuff and just listening to all these stories? And I'm like, I grew up in like a perfect little like neighborhood. I mean, everybody's got their issues sort of thing, but I just remember hearing these stories, and that's when I became obsessed with like hip hop, and got into Tupac. And the very first time I heard Snoop Dogg, my mind was blown, and I was so into that, watching all the movies, watching Juice, like looking at all this stuff, just being so fascinated. Like it was so alien to me because wherever I grew up, I was not exposed to this kind of stuff. So I became obsessed with like listening to all these stories. Like, wow, I can't believe some people went through these situations, and that's why I loved hip hop. And there's no rules, you know what I mean? And just the way the music was, like it was so bass driven and like exciting.
It's grimy, it's dirty.
You watch these videos and the guys are going up and down just like with the, just blaring out their cars, destroying their cars with subs. I was like, what is this? This is awesome, right? And so there's years of that. And then I got into rock stuff. The Marilyn Manson stuff, Korn, Soundgarden, all these great like different genres of rock, got really heavy into that, and I just love all this kind of music. And then so that was in my brain, right? And then, fast forward, I started making my own music and stuff like that, making beats with people, recording myself, making my own CDs, my own songs, and that's when I found out I sucked, and I loved it though, and And I actually had this thought like not long ago. It's like it was really an awakening for me because I realized like it brought like had I not got into that, I don't think ended up being an engineer right now because like I knew what a recording engineer was because I started doing my own music and got into like
that's very similar like me. Yeah, like I got into engineering because of that. Yeah.
So that's where the bug started, and I remember I was sitting in my basement one day, high as a kite, and figuring out what the hell am I gonna do? You know what I mean? I'm high. It's just like what am I? I was just sitting here making like rap music. People were like already got their university plans. I'm like, what am I gonna do? And all of a sudden, this recording engineer. I mean, I worked with engineers in the city. I didn't know they were engineers. Everybody had their own like little setup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And recording engineer, what is this? I kept research it, and then I seen schools, and that's when I got heavy into like understanding what an engineer was, what a producer was, what a mixing engineer was, and that's when the bug hit. I was probably 15 or 16 years old at this point. And then I became obsessed with it. And I was just like, really, okay, this is what I want to do. And then fast forward a little bit, I spent some time in the military. But it was always a plan in my head. I want to do the music thing.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to school for music. But right before I did the school, a good friend of mine, Chuck Carvalho, his dad is Joe Carvalho, a mastering engineer. He was like, he moved up to Toronto to set up the studio with his dad. He's like, hey man, you don't got to go to school. Like just come up here. I'll give you an internship. I'll teach you everything you need to know, kind of thing. I'm like, well, I never did. And at this school, like when I took the tour, it was like,
what school did you go to?
I went to OYAR in London, Ontario. And there's OYAR, the list of 3 I was going to attend. It was OYAR. There's one in Tempe, Arizona. I forget the name. And then there's Full Sail. Full Sail was like 85,000 American. I was just like, I am not rich, nor is my parents. So that was completely off the table. And in OYAR just made sense. Get the student loan, So I went to OYAR. But right before all this, he's like, oh, just move. I'll teach you everything you need to know, kind of thing. I was like, I don't know. Like when I took the tour, they were talking about video game sound. I'd never done that. What if I like that better? Film, I never done that. What if I like that better? Let me go to school, get the foundation, get the concrete built, and then decide what I want to do. Go to school, immediately realize I have no interest in game or film. I still want to do music. And throughout this whole time too, I was still like recording myself and like, just more for experimentation. So I'd always have like files, like 'cause at that time it was hard to get like multi-track files on the internet. It was like whatever you could get, and like the school had stuff that you could download and stuff like that, but I was mainly just recording myself to play around with stuff that I was learning at school, right? Did
you come up on a board?
Well, yeah, so I'll get to that. So basically, my very first time on the board was at school. We got taught on a Mitsubishi Westar console. That's what we got taught on, full analog VCA automation, and I had no clue what the hell I was doing at school, and nor did I understand it. I'm not sure why I passed. It was just school's so quick, you know what I mean? And it's just there's not enough time. Like you need like thousands of hours on a console to understand what the hell it does. We spent like maybe 50 hours throughout the whole, you know what I mean? You're not getting
it's like jam packed. Yeah,
exactly, right. So, anyways, it laid the foundation, and so after that, because I had the relationship with Chuck and Joa, hey, like I'm done school now, is the option for an intern on the table? Like he didn't just give it to me. I drove to Toronto. I had to do the interview with the studio manager, so I had to go actually. They actually had to want me.
You know what I mean? I had to, like,
so
you went through that whole process.
Interview process. They call me back. You got the job. It's yours. Or you got the position. So that's what I did. So I started there, and I did that for about 7 months. And then while I was doing that, he had another secondary room to the side. Joe was actually still producing bands at this point and mastering. So anytime he had a little extra thing he's doing at night or on the weekend, I'd hang out with him and this, that, and the other thing. And that led, because that was a mastering facility, because I didn't know about that anyways. And so once I was there, I was like, oh, I don't really want to do mastering, but it's good that I saw the process, I had an understanding of it. And then I was like, oh, I really want to just do recording. And at that time, actually, he had him and his partners had bought the Neve console for what is now Revolution Recording. They had no name at the time. They just bought the console, and he's like, hey, like 7 months had gone by, I kind of blew out all my money. I'm like, I can't intern anymore, man. Like I'm living in Toronto, you know, this is real life, you know? So I had to like kind of make a move. And so I got a job at the time at, I think the place was called AVW Telab, just like audio for visual, you know, running sound in conference rooms for meetings and stuff like that. So, but he's like, all right, hang out in Toronto. I want you to work at the studio for me when it's ready. It's going to be ready in a couple of years. He's like, hang out. Here's the keys to my studio. Record whoever you want to record in Studio B so I can get good, right? He's like, they really like me, wanted me around. This is a small operation. You can't have like a million interns at a mastering place. He had one, you know, and that was it, right? So I was like, all right, that respect. Like, that's amazing what he did for me. I would go there every single night, dude, like when I could, and nobody's there. I would just go in that B room, bring every single hip hop artist or band I could find to squeeze in there, and I would just practice, and that's what I did. And over time of working there, I think, so this is maybe only 3 or 4 months of me doing the AVW Telab job that my old teacher actually, who I really liked at my school, he was the career counselor at OYAR. He's like, hey, Phase 1 Studios, they need a guy, they need an assistant. He's like, I know you already did an internship, you really want to do this. Send your email to this guy, tell him you want the job. So I do it. he writes me right back. I think the same day even. He's like, "Hey, come for an interview." So I go for an interview. Got off work at 4 a.m. You know, from this AVW job, whatever, and then go to this interview. Did great in the interview. They called me back. They're like, "Yeah, why don't you come hang out for a couple times? We'll let you know. We're interviewing a lot of people." So it was kind of like a trial period kind of thing. I saw what that was. So
Yeah.
that's what I did a couple times. Came to hang out, and then they offered me the job. I quit AVW Tel Aviv and I ended up working at Phase One Studios for 2 years. And Joe was like, "Great, work for Phase One, get the skill set, and you're coming to work for us at Revolutions." I was like, "All right, sounds like a plan to me." So I knew I was leaving Phase One the minute I walked in that door. But it was my training ground. I worked with, and going back to your question or your question about all the different genres, I mean, we worked on everything there.
Yeah.
Dude. It was like they had a company working out of there. At the time, it was called Somerset. I don't think it's a company anymore. They changed names a few times, but it was, I don't know if you remember, you walk into Shoppers or Walmart and there'd be like a rack of CD songs for my daughter. Hits of the 80s, all those cover songs. So that company, dude, they did all their records at Phase One. They had a whole studio there and everything, and they had studio time booked 4 days a week, and they were just cranking these things out, dude. I was working on all, and there was like country songs, and they do hip hop covers and da. So all this, there was all that going on, and on the flip side, there was like good records happening there. You know, like this veteran producer. Gavin Brown was like bringing on a lot of his clients there at the time. You know, he was bouncing back and forth between Vancouver and Toronto, and he was also working at this place too.
Yeah,
he was
Gavin's dope too.
Yeah, he was working everywhere. So at the time, he was bringing all his bands there, like to do a lot of work. So I got to work on a lot of records, and it was crazy, dude. Like in my very first real session there was working with Gavin and Metric, and Gavin's engineer at the time, Lenny DeRose, who was a veteran engineer, and he's been doing it since the 70s. Like, this guy's a legend. He was Gavin's engineer at the time, so just learning under them, they were doing all the crazy cool rock stuff at the time. And and then I'm working with George Sierra, and he's bringing in Jesse Cook doing like some flamenco guitar stuff, and then I'm working on the orchestra, and then I'm doing da. And so I kind of got to see, even though like I was exposed to all this music my whole life, I got to see how all this music was made. And then about a year or so of me working at Phase One as the assistant, then George's main assistant was like, they started working together. So it was time for me to go work with George, who was like half the time mixing, half the time recording. So that's when like I was exposed to like how George mixed all this stuff, how he mixed the classical stuff, how he mixed the hip hop record, how he mixed. It was interesting. And on the flip side, I was like working with other freelance people coming in and out, and I was watching them, how they did stuff too, right? So it's just being exposed to all this and gathering all the things I liked and things I didn't like, and just kind of melting them into my own way of working, kind of thing. And that's how like I got exposed to all these different genres. And I think like my number one like mixer I always looked up to since like forever was like Manny Marroquin, because like I would see this guy's credits on such a wide.
Oh, he's worked on so much.
John Mayer to whoever, like this guy
Kanye.
Weeknd and the Kanye, and like,
he's all over the place. Like he can mix a country record, then he can go mix. He could go mix a heavy hip hop record.
So that's why, that's why I looked up, and there's a couple other ones like Serban and
I don't think anybody can compete with Serban.
Yeah, it's just like, and he's Canadian too.
You're not gonna get as many number ones as that guy.
No, but it's like I looked at this, I was like, that's what I want to do. Like it's just, if I was working with the same genre every single day out, personally, it would feel like a job at a certain point, like, and it's great. Like, hey, we're all grateful to be doing this. At the end of the day, if you're working with music for a living, like, get out of here. Like, it's a dream, a lot of highs and lows, but a bad day here is better than any good day sitting in the office down the nose. You know what I mean? Yeah. That life it's not for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think. But then you look at other engineers that are strictly mixing hip hop stuff or strictly working rock, and they're happy doing it, and it's all good. Like I think it depends on the person, dude. There's no wrong way to do it.
I guess it is dependent on each individual's like
your vibe and what you like.
Yeah, what's their goals, Like,
here's the thing too, and the reason why I really wanted that job at Phase One Studios, and the reason why, because like coming up, I was recording like all the rappers. I rapped myself. I knew how to work on hip hop music. You know what I mean? It was the very first music I ever worked on myself. I knew how to do it. Recording a vocal, trying to make the beat slap, like whatever. Like it's like I knew how to do it. I had no idea. I never played guitar, bro. Like I didn't. So
that's
like
crazy,
dude. My exposure, like specifically working with a producer like Gavin and his engineer Lenny, like watching these guys, like this guy crafted the careers of Billy Talent, 3 Days Grace. The list goes on. Like watching these guys record guitars in the studio and mic the amps and get in the phase and da 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 da. Like that's what I wanted to learn, and that's why. Like when I worked at Phase One, we would get free studio time, or not free, but like we could just, if nobody's booking on the studio and I've got to work, I can bring a band in.
Yeah.
Couldn't charge money, but so I would bring. I had a couple of different bands, and I would just record songs and songs and songs, just try to get good at it. So I would say if anybody who just works in hip hop or who just works in country or rock or whatever, like if don't be scared to like get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, broaden your palette a little bit.
Yeah, this is what happens. Like if you're sitting or just working on hip hop, you're probably be the odd time somebody's like, why don't we get a hip hop mixer for this country song? Just to get a different flavor. That will happen or whatever. But if you're just sitting there taking on the same stuff or looking for the same stuff, that's all you're going to get. You got to kind of get outside your comfort zone and try these other things and see what works for you and experiment. It might even mean doing stuff for free.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm really trying to got the studio, man, come over here, let's try. And then just do that. And like, okay, I figured this out. Now it's time to try. And now I can jump in and ask for other opportunities.
Would you say that learning all these different genres, recording all these different types of genres helped that translate while you were then mixing later on?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think the whole thing with the mixing, it's just like trial and error. You know what I mean? It's just like throwing stuff at the wall, seeing if it sticks. If it don't stick, try something else. Put the noodles in for longer, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like that's what it's all about. Honestly, I would be comfortable getting any kind of genre and working, even if I never even heard the genre before. I'll do it, like whatever. Like what's the worst that's gonna happen? Oh, we don't like it. Da da da. All right, cool. Like
next guy.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, like okay, like we don't like. Oh, change this, and this. All right, cool.
Yeah,
you know, it's just
exactly. It's a collaborative effort at the end of the day.
Mixing is the collaborative effort, and that's my favorite part of me. I mean, sometimes it is nice. You get that mix one and done. You're like, yeah, I'm the fucking man.
Yeah.
But then whatever. But like, I actually like. I tell you the truth, it is nice to get the mixed ones. You get a little pat on the back, but it's like I like the ones that like kind of challenge you a little bit. And like, okay, let's do a collaborative thing. Oh yeah, let's try a different reverb.
You start kind of like uncovering things that you didn't think were possible. I'm with you on there too. Like, yeah, it's cool to get like first pass and we're done, but I think like you said, like when you start getting those challenges, you start seeing things start getting a lot more experimental and stuff. And I think you shouldn't be like you can't let your ego get in the way of this either. It's like, because at the end of the day, like it is a collaborative effort, and when someone says like to me, oh, like your mix was so good, I'm like, nah, bro, like it's not my mix, bro. It's
our mix.
It's our mix. Like whoever was involved in the process, it's it's the producer, it was the A&R if he had a say in anything. It's the artist, it's whoever had a say in the mix. That's our mix, not my mix. I was just the one who fucking executed all the moves.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a very much it's a team sport. You know what I mean? I'm putting quotations in the air. It's a team sport, and this is all a game. You know what I mean? It's just learning how to play the game properly and being a great team player along the way. And it's Michael Jordan was one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but he did have an ego too. He didn't get along with everybody, and So there's different ways. You just got to figure out how to play the game that works for you, and you also got to understand you're not going to win everything, and you're not going to please everybody. Everybody hears music a different way. Like we're just talking about this at the panel. Like every time I send a mix out, I am happy with that mix. I'm never sending a mix out.
Okay, I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, do you feel confident every time you send out that very first mix?
This is what, this is a huge mind game too, right? So like this just comes with time and doing it and figuring out what works for you. Like I used to be so not insecure, but just like frustrated. Like if people didn't like it or they had a lot of change, I'd be frustrated, right? But then it's like, again, it's like part of this is making mistakes, learning from mistakes, and not doing it again. So, a lot of the way I mix now and the way I interact with people, it's like, it's just accumulative of like, all these mistakes that I've learned from along the way. Like I see the red flags coming. I know how to avoid them now, and So that's all it is. You know what I mean? And so when I send a mix out now, it's just like if somebody said to me like they don't like the mix, we're sorry, we hate this. If that's on them. I can't put my ears on their ears and expect them to like it. You know what I mean? Like it's so subjective, and like I just like, I'm at a point now, just like I'll send a mix out. Of course, like I want somebody to get back to me like 3 seconds later and tell me that they love it and all this kind of stuff. But like, that's just not the world we live in. Again, like talking to my parents today, there's an artist working with now, they take 3 weeks to get back on something. So it's like, it is what it is. And then, you know what I mean? And, you know, it's just I think it's just about like client service, customer service, being a facilitator, whatever the people need. Like some people I work with are extremely picky and extremely da 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 about stuff. But,
demanding. Yeah,
and then other artists are not so much. Some
Yeah.
artists don't even listen to the mixes. You know what I mean? It's like
They
it's,
just-
it's
they
the
just trust
producer
you.
and the label like doing it
Yeah.
all, and it's like whatever.
Yeah.
I just try to come in, fit where I can in that project. How can I be a facilitator to this and just fit right in? And just
Yeah.
again, and it's all just doing it and making mistakes and learn from it and try not to do that again. And then you know what I mean. You make a couple of the mistakes sometimes, and then you gotta look yourself in the mirror. We've been through this path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Gotta
And
fix
it
up.
doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
a producer or an engineer or whatever or a mixer. It's all the same stuff. Like
So so take me to, you built a Dolby Atmos room.
yeah.
Why?
For the people that don't know, tell us what a
So
Dolby Atmos is.
Dolby Atmos is a new immersive format. Can be played back in speakers, can be played back in headphones, which is called the binaural render of the immersive audio file, which is a Dolby Atmos audio file. So, in a long story short, it's kind of like surround. Like
Yeah,
I'll compare it to surround sound for a second. Just that they're two completely different things, but for reference, surround sound came out and failed as a music playback system.
yeah,
One as a consumer, like home theater or cinema.
yeah.
We
Killed
need-
it.
we-
Yeah.
You want to go to the theater and listen. If you're going to the theater, you're not like. What's the point? You want to be like in the
Yeah.
theater and then hearing the
Immersed
planes.
in it
Yeah,
and everything.
you're watching Saving Private Ryan. You want to hear the bullets flying by your head and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
so with surround sound music, the reason it failed, I think the main reason it failed, if you didn't have those 5 speakers, you weren't hearing it. If you're sitting there and you had everything measured exactly the same and calibrated, you're not hearing that file. If you don't have the center speaker, well, what if the kick drum's in there? Now you're not hearing the kick drum. So
Yeah.
with this immersive audio format, what happens, it's all object based. And what that means is there is like an object, like, well, you can run it a number of different ways, but if say you run everything in object, so you're placing that object, I mean, people can't see, but between the right speaker and the right surround speaker, you're placing an object over there. So it doesn't matter if you got 96 speakers or if you got 4 speakers that like playing back this Dolby Atmos file, it's going to
Yeah.
know to put that, you know, it doesn't matter what you have.
Yeah.
The more speakers you have, the better kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a really big studio that's got, you know, a big, I don't know, 9.2.6 system, it's better. You're going to be able to locate the sounds properly. It's just going to sound more full, more immersed.
Yeah.
If you're at home and you got a little, you know, if you're at the studio, you do a 714 mix, you bring it to your home and you only got 5 speakers at home or 4 speakers at home, it'll play back that Dolby Atmos file.
Yeah.
It's going to sound a little different, but
Yeah.
it'll play it back. If you got a pair of headphones, it's going to play it back.
AirPods, yeah.
You know, it doesn't sound like, again, like
It's not the
everybody,
same.
yeah, everybody's like, oh, the Dolby Atmos doesn't, I don't, you know, this, that, and the other thing, spatial audio. Well, that's not really, I mean, yes, technically it is. The only thing is that file is always going to be changing. Every single iOS update, that file is changing sonically. It's getting better.
way.
Yeah. So, but with the Dolby Atmos actual like audio file, that is literally like the wave file, the Atmos wave file is the mix.
Right.
You know, so and 10 years from now, doesn't matter how many speakers or whatever the configuration, it's going to play that.
Yeah.
The binaural thing is going to sound different.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to get better as the years go on. They
Right.
get and you know, like you look at Apple and all these companies sinking money into this stuff. This might be around for a minute.
Yeah. You don't think it's gonna fail like it
I
did?
don't know. I honestly don't know.
music.
All I know is it's really fun to work on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it sounds better. Sometimes it sounds worse.
Yeah.
You know, just depending. You know, just putting a pair of headphones on.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really fun. It's really open. It's just a different sonic world to play in. You know,
Yeah.
it kind of makes you. I think anytime I've talked to producers who have heard Atmos, they're envisioning stuff like, hey, like they just kind of opened up a different way of looking at sonic space and sound design and music, you know. And it's again, you got to be, in my opinion, you got to be in the right room to hear it properly.
Yeah,
to actually
of
get
course,
an opinion
yeah.
about it if you like it or if you don't like it. Right, you got to be in a tuned room. You got to be, you know, with the tuned speakers, everything time aligned together, and it's got to sound right, you know. And if you're playing music, if it's mixed well, it's going to sound awesome. You know, there's a lot of great Atmos stuff right now out. There's a lot of crappy and terrible Atmos stuff out.
Did you listen to the Harry Styles album?
I did not. No.
Apparently, that sounds really fucking good in Atmos.
Great. I would
Like,
love to hear it.
Even
Yeah.
just on even on my AirPods, bro, it sounded really good.
I wonder who did it. Maybe.
It's John Castelli and
That's awesome.
Some other guy, but yeah, sounded phenomenal.
Yeah, it's here's the thing that excites me most about it. It's the Wild West. Like, there's no rules about it, so like you kind of do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah.
Like right now, we know you put the kick and snare here, vocals here, and everything's out here. We know how to make music now. Like, yeah, there's tricks to get it wider, and you can do automation, but now it's like, what do we do? Do we put the kick in the center, or do we put them out?
Do you put the kick like,
well,
up top?
or do we put them out here and let them do a phantom center out like we're used to? Or do we put out the center? Do we bring it back in the room? There's so many different things that we can be doing right now with the audio. That's like, again, I've always like tried to jump on the new technologies. Like when I see it happening, like the Slate Raven stuff came around a couple years ago. I fucked with it. I tried it out, hated it. On to the next thing. But I will give everything a go. Like, I saw this come. I'm like, yeah, I really want to get into it. The thing that sparked me last year when I saw all the major labels thinking money, I'm like, yeah, I got to learn this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I learned it, and
well, because like now it's not just because the labels are now required to not only deliver like the mix, like they're required to now deliver an Atmos mix as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
So it's come in, and it's like, you know, and it's like, it's extra money. Do I want somebody else doing my Atmos mixes, or do I want to just do my Atmos mixes? You know, and you'll learn how to do it too. You'll be doing your own. I think every engineer should do their own mix. Yeah. But maybe sometimes it's better off. Oh, this guy crushed this thing. Let's give it to him. It's the same kind of thing, right? And it's like, you know, I for me, it's like I'd rather do the Atmos stuff for my own mixes. I'm the one who mixes it.
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
how
You understand it a lot better.
Yeah, and it's extra money too. Like, why not? I'll do it. You know, and it's fun. It's fun. This is all fun to me. You know what I mean? Like, I love doing this for a job, and new technologies excite me. And if you're not jumping on the bag, it's like the guys back in the day who were working on tape, didn't want to go to the computer, and then they didn't have a job 10 years later. You know what I mean? It's like, hello, you gotta kind of
you gotta keep
jump
up.
in.
You gotta keep up.
It is what it is. Even if you don't like it, people are using it. It's happening. We got to be on board. You know, that's the way I've always looked at it. Really.
Exactly. So you had, I think you had mentioned your girlfriend at some point. You want to touch on how you balance, because you seem to work very hard. You work on all these. You got credits. You got awards. How do you balance that work ethic and having a relationship?
You gotta ask her that question. I don't even know, dude. Like, I'm just blessed she's still with me and happy, and yeah, it is a lot, dude. Like, at the beginning it was hard, you know. It's she works a corporate job. All of her husbands or friends' husband, all of her husbands. That's how it's done, though. All of her friends' husbands and boyfriends. It's different, you know what I mean? Everybody's talking about, oh, I went over here on the weekend, and what did you
like,
do? And like, I feel bad. Like,
you're sitting here like, yo, I'm fucking mixing an Atmos.
Yeah,
bitch.
like, it's definitely been a struggle. It's something we've had to work on together, and again, I'm just so thankful I got such a supportive person in my life that she never questioned anything along the way. Of course, like, there's been difficult times, you know, got to miss a little thing, or like canceling stuff at the last minute is a big thing that she just kind of just become numb to it at this point. She's just kind of used to it, you know, and I feel bad, but you just try to make it up where you can. And we're in the line of work that, like, things happened at the last minutes. And if you can't take those opportunities, you're never going to grow. And especially with this mix, like, I thought, like, I was working lots when I worked at the studio, like as an assistant and as an engineer at the studio. And I worked lots of hours, but you know, if you would have told me, hey, Jay, you're going to go freelance and work 3 times more, I would have laughed at you. Like, what do you mean? Like, all these freelance guys got no, but it's like, when you get in freelance, you're doing mixing or you're doing mastering,
fucking running between
and
recording
you're in
sessions.
Demand. Like, what am I going to say? I can't say no to people. You know what I mean? It's like, I specifically, like, people that I work with all the time that are good to me. Like, I gotta, whenever they have something for me, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't had a vacation since 2019. You know what I mean? Like, is it healthy? No. Am I trying to fix it? Yes. You know, and it's again, I'm just lucky I have a supportive person on my side who never questioned anything along the way. She is always the first one to be my champion, to like, don't worry, just keep working, She's just having a very supportive,
that's solid
partner.
Word.
We don't have kids either, too. Maybe like if the kids are in the situation, I don't know how I'd do that, you know. And I got a good friend, he's a producer, and he just moved to LA, Mike Sonier, and he's got 2 kids, and he's got to figure it out. And I'm like, okay, if I had kids, I'd figure it out too. This man's working a lot too, but is also spending time with the kids and his wife, and you just gotta, like, I don't even know the answer, but you just gotta figure it out, you know, like, yeah, I think it just all stems, both people have an understanding of what's going on, and what the goal is, and how can we accomplish that goal together, you know. Even though she's not sitting there mixing with me, but it's like, we're a team. She understands, you know. And
that's
it's
good.
Like,
that's rock solid.
Like, if it's not, if the person doesn't understand it, it will be toxic, and it won't be good.
Yeah,
you know? I think
I agree.
You know, I think that from my experience, you know, we've been together a long time, since 2009, and she's been with me since I've been an assistant till now. She's seen it all. You know what I
That's
mean?
crazy.
Wow.
But there's been you know, it's
good.
a lot of highs and a lot of lows,
Yeah,
you know,
of
along the
course.
way, and that's just life. That's just relationships. Doesn't matter what you're doing. So I think if you're just having a respect for each other and yeah, just having that support, it's so important.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I mean, I wish we could sit down and talk a little bit more about all kinds of different stuff, but I know you got to go.
Part 2 soon.
Part
Yeah.
2 soon,
I would
maybe.
love it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is-
Whenever you're back in,
This is fun. I got this credit list, so if you want me to run through these real quick.
Yeah. Do it.
I'm just gonna like
Yeah,
this
let's
is
hear
a
this.
crazy list. I'm not even tracking of like what I do. You know what I mean? I'm just so like let's go next.
Just
thing, next
locked
thing.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like I never stopped to look at this stuff, and I looked at this. I was like, this is crazy. You know?
Yeah,
I'm
that
like-
is crazy.
And I'm like nowhere near. Like I'm not even near where I want to be. I'm always just trying to like do better and like get the
Yeah.
next thing and like I never stop and be like I'm great. Look at everything I work on. Like no,
Yeah.
dude, like,
Yeah, that's when you know you've like when you say,
Plateaued.
"Oh yeah, I'm great." Like
we were talking about this earlier. Like
Yeah.
the thing that gets me like up in the morning is the chase. This is a game. How can I'm beating myself today. I'm doing a better mix than I did yesterday. It's like I want to get a bigger artist to work with. I want more of this. And that's what it's just all about. And like, okay, like and like that's as soon as you lose track of that, or as soon as you think you've made it or something like that, and it's like
no, you're done.
like I don't know. It's like I think about that. Like if I ever had that, it's like time to retire. Like what's the point? Like
Yeah.
again, it's like I look at the music industry as a game. I never had a plan B, and I just kept going. And that's I think the most successful people kind of have the same story. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's exciting. Every aspect of this is exciting. Again, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. I remember an engineer actually told Dennis Tugas told me this when I left the studio freelance. He was like, when I think I told you this on the phone to reach out a little bit ago. He's like, just don't get sick on a roller coaster. You'll be fine. Dude. And I'm just like, what the fuck is he talking about? And then I got into it. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like there is. It's like again, it's like you win a Juno or whatever. It's like, yo, awesome. And it lasts like an hour. And it's like, okay, like what's the next?
Yeah, what's
what I mean?
next?
Like what's the next thing?
What's next?
Or hey, yeah, we love the mix. Hey, awesome. And then the next day, like, yeah, we don't like the da-da-da. It's like, it's just like that's what it is. Just constant like da-da-da. And again, it's like specifically the job with mixing or producing. It's like it's so hard to understand like what that other person's looking for. You know what I mean? Like giving them a product that I hope they like it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like it's dope to me, but like you give it to them, we hate it. Oh, cool. Like what do we do now?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's just always like I don't even think it doesn't matter what level you're at. You get to the level like the Max Martin this level, they still probably deal with a little bit of this. You know what I mean, it's maybe it's even more. You're dealing with
maybe like I feel like even the top guys, they still suffer from like that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like yeah, for sure. So where can people find you? On IG, where
in the studio. At J Dufour on Instagram, and I pretty much only use Instagram. I don't really use Facebook. And
website,
new website, jasondufour.com or jdufour.com. Anything with my name kind of points to it. I believe it's kind of hooked up like that.
Yeah.
Now,
we'll have all the links in the show notes. So
I'd love to do this again, man.
Next time you're back, man, just let us know, and we'll get in.
Yeah, thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Let's do it again.
All right, peace. The Behind the Sound podcast was recorded at the Orange Lounge Recording Studio, located downtown Toronto.